and welcome to another episode of Mavens of Manufacturing. This week's episode is sponsored by Factory Fix. Factory Fix is a manufacturing talent platform that combines the power of a talent network featuring over 400,000 skilled manufacturing pros and a recruiting platform built specifically for the manufacturing industry. Today's episode is also supported by the IMTS Plus Creators Lounge, the Association for Manufacturing Technology and Industrial. The IMTS Plus Creators Lounge is a brand new experience powered by AMT and Industrial. It is a gathering place for innovative minds. So you can find us in the prime spot of the South Hall at booth 338600. It's going to feature influencers like myself, as well as industry creators, individuals, and people like Andrew Crow, who give great insights and stories to share. So be sure to stop by the booth. Now, to introduce Shannon Nelson. Hi, Shannon. How are you doing?
Good morning. Fabulous. How are you?
I'm doing great. It is Friday, and I'm super excited because on Sunday, I'm leaving to go to Chicago for IMTS. So really, really amped up about that. I haven't started packing yet, so I'm a little nervous about that. I keep procrastinating on that. But welcome. Thank you for coming to Mavens. I really appreciate you being here. And I want to get to know a little bit more about you first before we dive into the other questions. So can you let us know and the audience know who you are and how you got involved with manufacturing and how it led you to Firetrace?
Absolutely. Shannon Nelson, Regional Sales Manager with Firetrace. With regard to how I got into manufacturing, I have to say it was by accident, really. In a prior life, I was selling body armor, and I was working directly for the manufacturer. At that time, I fell in love with the process of being able to see beginning to end. I could walk right onto the floor, see how things were being made, patterns, so on and so forth. And so I knew that that was my calling to work directly for the manufacturer. When I was no longer selling body armor, that led me to Firetrace in the exact same situation as I'm working directly for the manufacturer, which is there in Arizona, able to go out on the shop floor and see what's going on. You're much more involved when there's not a layer removing you from that process.
Mm-hmm. So what is Firetrace? I know that they create fire suppression systems, but can you kind of explain what that is and why it's important for industrial manufacturers?
Absolutely. Firetrace is the reliable industry leader for fire suppression systems, focusing on protecting and decreasing the impact of fire on lives and livelihoods around the globe. So we have a global team focusing on machine shops, OEMs, so on and so forth. And there's a lot that goes into just the cost alone, right, of a CNC machine, and specifically those that are cutting with oil. Something that's cutting with coolant is not in our wheelhouse. There's not a fire hazard there. So we've got swish machines, EDMs, 3D printers, mist collection, dust collection. Those are all within our wheelhouse and assets that we protect every day.
Okay. And that's important too, because now with everything being automated and you have lights out manufacturing where, you don't necessarily have to have people on the shop floor for machines to continue running. You don't want something to happen, God forbid, where, a fire starts and you're not there to put it out. So it's really great to have this type of option integrated into your system, because then if you're not there, I'm assuming the system works where you get some sort of notification if something bad does happen. Like, how does that whole process work in terms of alerting the owner of what might be happening when they're not there?
Great question. We are independent of power, which is one of the biggest things, is that with our technology, our fire detection tubing doesn't require any type of power. We do have a new dual pressure switch that you can tie in, and that's alarm initiating. It immediately shuts down the machine. So exactly as you said, the capability of running lights out is present, because it will shut down the machine. It's no longer going to feed oxygen. The oil's no longer being fed. Clean agent is dispersed and your machine is saved. So it allows you maximum productivity and to be able to run lights out without being worried.
That's awesome. And then Jake Hall's joining us today. Hi, Jake. Thank you. He said machine security is huge, especially as more companies run lights out with robotic and automation. And I 100% agree. And anyone else who's tuning in, feel free to drop your comments or questions below. I like to try to include everyone in our conversation, so feel free. And I'll get through those as much as possible. So in terms of like how you got involved with this sector, you said you fell into it by accident. You started out, kind of selling for body armor. When you were growing up, though, what were some of the things that you were passionate about and some of the things that you like to do? Because one of the misconceptions that I'm really trying to, disprove is that manufacturing isn't just a place for people who like to work with their hands. Like if you really like critical thinking or if you're a writer like myself, there is a place for you in this sector. So what were some of the things that you did like doing, and who are some of your main inspirations that potentially led to where you were for sales?
Absolutely. I went to school for criminal justice. And for me, it was,
Okay.
how can I knew very young that I wanted to make a positive impact and leave the world better than I found it. I did think that going that avenue that I would go in and make change, and maybe it was a bit too aggressive. But that was my goal growing up, was what can I do to effect change? Where that falls in for me, as far as going into sales, is I feel like that's what I do every day. And it's why I absolutely love what I do. I also had a father that owned a construction business. So he was working with his hands day in, day out. And where I grew up, it was very hot. So a lot of times he was like, Shannon, I want you to do something different than what I've done. And he loved it. For him, his artwork, his wood, all of that, working with his hands was an extension of himself, if you will.
Right.
I felt led from him to do something that was also an extension that I felt passionate about.
That's really cool. And one of the things that I caught on your profile too is you did volunteer work for something called the Prison Education Project. And I'm curious to know what that is about, because prior to this conversation, you and I had a sit down with Andrew Crow because he wanted to learn more about some of the opportunities that were available in the area that you live. And we started talking about the correctional facilities and what's being done there in terms of like upskilling some of the inmates who are getting out soon and helping them, with that second chance of bettering themselves and maybe getting an opportunity to work somewhere else immediately after they get a release. So is this prison education project tied into that, or what is the main goal for that particular project?
Yes, in realizing that wasn't going to be where my career was going to take me, I knew that I wanted to fulfill that passion and that part of me by volunteering. And so I've done that with many, many different organizations. With the prison education program, I was assigned to inmates. So we were assigned inmates, and they could be anywhere from serving a couple years to life. We were given curriculum, or we chose curriculum rather, and we taught these inmates said curriculum, graded their papers, and worked with them. And the part that I chose to teach was a self-help program, if you will, learning how to give, doing some intrinsic work that they've always wanted and that they were open to. And so seeing the progress from the beginning to the end is absolutely incredible. There are so many people that are in our institutions and that are hungry to be rehabbed or hungry to be fed. And so that's...
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that is important for our audience to hear too, because one of the main topics that keeps coming up within manufacturing in terms of like closing some of these gaps that are existing, not just the skills gap, but also the training gap and the gender gap, is setting people up for success and linking them to an appropriate experience or mentorship program. And I feel like if you can connect them with someone that gives them that hope of being a better person, that's really effective in terms of recruiting more people into this sector. So, does Firetrace do anything in terms of community outreach as a company, or in terms of like any type of mentorship? Like, what is the company doing to get the next generation really excited about engineering and manufacturing, if anything?
Yeah, absolutely. So what Firetrace does is they give us 2 days of what we call VTO, which is volunteer time off. Now we get to choose how we want to spend those days. So I can't tell you that it's directly related to engineering or manufacturing, but we get to choose.
Right.
And because we are globally represented, we have a large effect from the United States and in other countries. So we're giving those 2 days to choose as we will in our community. So it's not just for those that are there in Scottsdale, Arizona, but for wherever we reside, we take 2 days and choose where we want to volunteer.
That's really cool. That's the first time. I've always known PTO or sick time. I've never knew that VTO was a thing, and I think that's really cool as well. I did talk to another company earlier in the year, and they had something, they didn't call it VTO, but they were really proactive in getting to know what some of their employees were doing on a personal level. So, like, if they were part of any like LGBTQ plus groups, or women rights movements, or other like social causes or community causes, they really took the time to educate themselves on those causes, and then either volunteered with the employees so that they could learn more about it, or set up some sort of project or funding to kind of run parallel with that. And I think that's a really great idea to bring your company together and kind of turn it around in a positive company culture. Manufacturing Day is another thing that's coming to mind. Do you do anything as a company for days like that are specifically focused on manufacturing and engineering? Because Manufacturing Day is actually coming around the corner in October.
It is. At the moment, we don't. No, at the moment, we don't.
That's probably something to think about. So for IMTS, what are some of the things that you'll be doing at the trade show? Because that's on Monday, and I know that you said Firetrace is exhibiting. So can you tell us a little bit more what Firetrace will be exhibiting, and what you're looking forward to in terms of IMTS?
Sure, super excited. I leave tomorrow, and we have some of our systems will be live at booth, so you will see some of our systems on some CNC machines there. We will also have our own booth, 236682, and we will have systems there, as well as Novec 1230, which is one of the clean agents that we enjoy people coming by to see exactly what that looks like, because it does store as a liquid. And so it's amazing to see that that's what we would use as the clean agent into these CNC machines, which is what's going to suppress the fire. So we will have that live. If anybody wants to come and check it out, we can take your phone and dunk it in there.
It won't wreck your phone?
It won't. And that's what's so amazing. I mean, I don't really want you to put your phone in there. You could, but it's just incredible to be able to see the product that's being used inside the CNC, because we often have questions. Is it going to damage anything? What's the residue?
Yeah.
Are we going to have to clean it up? And you don't.
So with that's one of the other things I forgot to ask you earlier. With the suppression fire system, how are the costs handled with that? Is there like some sort of insurance that comes along with it? Like what is the best cost-effective way for someone to invest in a fire suppression solution?
That great question. There's a few different ways that they're able to obtain that. So whether they're going through a distributor, an OEM, sometimes some of our systems already come on the CNC machine. So they're already there. So when a customer purchases it, it's already there. But to your question about insurance is a great one, because we're seeing more and more, although in the fire world, we're not a required system. So if an aged Jay walks in, we don't have to be present as you would with maybe sprinklers in your building. Those are required systems.
Okay.
But with an insurance company, what we're seeing more and more often is that people are getting discounts on their premiums for having it, because it is going to save your machine. It is going to save your shop. It may save the machine next to it. You're not going to have this full-blown fire that's destructive to the whole building.
That's great. So in terms of other people who are looking into their career pathways, because you have a very similar story with other women that I've talked to who didn't know, what engineering or manufacturing was, and they fell into it by accident. I mean, that's how I got involved in the sector. I fell into it by accident because I just happened to be a technical writer, and I started out at a trade publication, and my journey landed me here. So what sort of advice would you give to the next generation in terms of the manufacturing sector and considering a career pathway within it?
Yes, now you're speaking to my heart here. As a woman, in the last few industries that I've worked in, I've had no experience, and they were both male dominated. I believe, after many conversations, that a lot of women without experience may be intimidated to walk in, to apply. And my advice is going to be, as long as you're asking questions and you're determined to learn, and you wake up every day humble, knowing that you still have a lot to learn, you are going to have to outwork your colleagues. That's part of it. My colleagues know much more than I, be it fire. They've been doing it longer, but every day I wake up with a determination. So don't allow yourself not having experience and it being the land of the unknown deter you, because you will succeed. You can succeed. And it says a lot about an employer that's willing to take you on without experience, because they're willingly taking on someone that they're going to have to train and take time to invest. But with determination, anything's possible.
So in terms of that training and investing in it, what sort of things does Firetrace do to upskill the current employees that are there now? Because that's another topic of discussion that I've been involved with. What we can't just forget about who's in the sector now and what they're doing. We have to make sure that they're keeping up with the advancements in technologies as well. So what sort of things does Firetrace offer as a company to make sure their employees are always up to date with what's going on in the sector?
Absolutely. Technology is a huge one. New product development that drives people, that excites people. We're all able to have input in those meetings. Every Friday, there's open hours with the engineering team. That way we can all huddle together as a company. And that's an open forum. Whatever you have, questions you may have, you're able to come in and ask those questions as well. Being that we also have many applications outside of just the CNC space, opening that up so we're all on the same page and have a clear understanding of what that looks like. So it's really the culture of teamwork and allowing everyone to bring their ideas to the table. We can't always implement those, but working as a team and that collaborative effort is what drives my fellow colleagues, drives new talent into the company.
Nice. Well, Shannon, before I let you go, if you had one ask for our audience, what would your biggest ask for them be?
Can I have 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as many as you want.
My first one would to be before you say no to fire suppression, is consider the cost of the lives, your livelihood, the cost of the machine, the cost of the oil, the cost, just downtime alone. We've had people call us. I've had people call me. They're losing $50,000 to $100,000 to $200,000 an hour. So before you say no, and it's pennies on the dollar when you divide this out, really think about what you could lose on just an hour a day. We always get, well, I have insurance, but with insurance, you're still going to be waiting for a new machine to come in. There's a lot of things that go, someone to come in and program it. So I would just ask that you really consider what it would be if that machine were to burn down.
It was a great ask.
Yeah, it's And sometimes we have to lay those out. And I've had people before say, no, Shannon, I don't need it. And then I get a call 6 months later. This happened in the Midwest, and the gentleman had burnt down the center machine and the one to the right of it. And it was painful. And he had a young family. It was just awful to take those calls when people are so desperate for help. My second ask would be that we continue to make a difference. There's so much support in this community. It's beautiful. And if we all continue to support each other, be that by LinkedIn posts, showing up, offering, how can I help you? It will make all the difference in the world. That would be my second ask. And my third one is to come visit us at IMTS in booth 236682.
That's what I was going to ask you next, because I knew you didn't mention that before. So thank you for including that information. Well, Shannon, I really want to thank you for the time that you took to come speak with me today on Mavens of Manufacturing. I'm really excited to meet you in person at IMTS and learn more about Firetrace and see some of your stuff in action. And maybe I'm curious to see if my phone will survive dropping that in there. So I might be your guinea pig for that. And I can't. No, I'm going to have a second camera on me. So I'm going to video that, actually. Maybe I'll do that. That'd be pretty fun to do. But yeah, so thank you so much. And then to everyone who tuned into our conversation today, thank you. We are getting a comment coming in. Hank. Hi, Hank. Thank you. I love Hank. He sits down with his daughters and they watch every episode of Mavens of Manufacturing. And I just sent him 2 shirts. So Hank, thank you again for joining us today. We appreciate your viewership. But again, please come visit, Shannon at IMTS. I'll be there in booth 338600 in the Creators Lounge. I'm also going to be on 2 panel discussions and walking around the trade show floor. I do have a secret giveaway. So if you are parents, especially if you are a parent, try to find me at IMTS because I have a giveaway for you if you are a parent. But you got to find me in order to get it. And I also have some bracelets. I also want to say thank you to Factory Fix, who is today's sponsorship. They have a question for all of you. What was your first manufacturing job? So I forgot what mine was because I just didn't consider it. I actually worked in a cutting tool company, and they produce cutting tools. And one of my favorite things to do was when, and I probably shouldn't say this because it's probably a safety issue, but I won't say the company name. When it got really hot in the summer, the floors where all the machines were, the oil would come up from the floor and you could just kind of slide across. Slide across the floor. So I won't tell you who the company is because I don't want to get in trouble, but that was one of the things that I like to do in the summer is just kind of slide across the floor with the stuff. So, but yeah, thank you everybody. I hope you have a great weekend. And I will see you at IMTS. Thanks again, Shannon. Have a great weekend.
And you too.
Bye.
We know hiring quality manufacturing talent isn't always easy and that there can be a lot of moving parts. That's why Factory Fix is introducing a powerful new tool, Talent Text. No more candidate no-shows. Talent Text allows you to connect with candidates up to 5 times faster than you or even the best recruiter can. Job openings happen overnight. Candidates fall by the wayside and emails get buried and forgotten. Through 3-directional chat, Factory Fix Talent Pros help put you in the hand of a highly skilled worker within seconds.